Varginha is cemented as Brazil's Roswell and home of one of the most captivating UFO stories on the planet. Today, much like Roswell, New Mexico, Varginha has embraced its history of UFO encounters, making the most of the town's remarkable story. Bus stops were built in the form of spaceships, and a 20-meter-tall disc-shaped water tower was erected in the town center, and they erected Memorial do ET, and is a museum dedicated to extraterrestrial phenomena. Statues of the mysterious creature reportedly seen during the incident are scattered throughout the town. The tale is so ingrained in the culture that even UFC fighter Amanda Ribas, a proud Varginha native, has shared that her own family was a witness to the strange events. It all started on January 13th. NORAD, the North American Aerospace Defense Command, tracked multiple UFOs heading toward the Varginha region and promptly alerted Brazilian authorities. On the morning of January 13, 1996, Carlos Souza, a pilot, was making his way north from São Paulo. As he drove along a quiet highway about 20 kilometers south of Varginha, he heard a strange sound cutting through the air. His eyes scanned the sky, and what he saw is something he will never forget. Carlos Souza reported seeing a white, cigar-shaped craft, about the length of a school bus, about 120 meters in the air, descending rapidly, emitting white smoke. It had a long crack running down the side while it headed north towards Varginha. Souza decided to follow the UFO, believing it was an aircraft that needed help. It passed over the highway, over some small mountains, and then made a steep dive down. Believing it had crashed, Souza sped up in a desperate attempt to reach the wreckage. Around 30 minutes later, he comes over a hill and sees wreckage and metallic debris covering a field. He gets out and was immediately hit with an overpowering stench like ammonia or rotten eggs, strong enough to make his eyes water and cover his nose. He happened to pick up a piece of material that he stated was shockingly light, and upon folding and letting go would retain its original shape. Almost immediately, the military was there. He reported around 40 armed soldiers, 2 trucks, a helicopter, and several cars. Soldiers with rifles rushed him, pointed a gun to his head, and ordered him to leave immediately. 1 week later, more witness reports continued to flood in, and what people were describing seemed even more unbelievable than before. On January 20th, just after 1 a.m., an elderly farm couple, Aurelina Augusta and Eurico Rodriguez, reported seeing a craft similar to the one Carlos Souza had described, which looked like it sustained significant damage and was heading toward Varginha. They were woken by the sound of stampeding cows running frantically around the house. Eurico said, "We looked at the sky and saw a grey object, similar to a submarine the size of a small bus, flying very slowly over the ground. There was something like white smoke coming out of it. There were no lights, and it wasn't making any noise." Some believe that the couple may have gotten the date wrong, and that they had actually witnessed the craft a week earlier, on January 13th, the same day as Carlos Souza. Regardless, their account added yet another layer of mystery to the growing collection of strange sightings. Meanwhile, multiple calls were being placed to the police and fire department, reporting sightings of a bizarre creature in the area. However, the authorities dismissed these reports as pranks and ignored them, at least the first few. These calls began around 7 or 8 a.m., and this is where the reports of what witnesses saw became even stranger. The most popular eyewitness report comes from 3 girls, aged 14 to 22 years old. On January 20th, 3:30 p.m., 3 girls were coming down a narrow path when one of them noticed graffiti on the wall, and her eyes were drawn to something crouching beside it. They screamed in terror as they saw what they later described as a 3 to 4 foot tall creature. Its skin was brown and oily, and it had a large, triangular head with 3 small, rounded horns protruding from the top, with huge red eyes. The creature remained silent, crouched down in a vulnerable position, seemingly hurt, suffering from the heat and filled with fear. At the first glance of a slight movement from the alien, the three girls ran for their lives. They got their mothers and returned 40 minutes later to nothing. As soon as the mother arrived, she noticed a strange, unpleasant and sharp odor. A few weeks later, a mother of two of the girls reported 4 men in suits visited their home and offered large amounts of money for the daughters to publicly deny their encounter. While the encounter with the 3 girls remains the most famous eyewitness report, it is far from the only one. Multiple other strange sightings continued to come in throughout the day, adding to the growing mystery. Around 1 p.m., witnesses reported seeing military men in town seemingly searching for something and claim they heard shots fired from the men's rifles. These may be the same shots heard by a jogger who at around 2 p.m. saw armed soldiers entering the woods with rifles. The witness continued jogging and within a few minutes heard 3 distinct gunshots. His curiosity piqued. He veered off his path and jogged to a street overlooking the woods. There he saw an army truck and 4 soldiers carrying body bags. One of the bags was moving, squirming as though it contained something alive, while the other remained still. As the sun began to set on January 20th, a hailstorm swept through Varginha, and during this storm, 2 military policemen, Marco Cereze and Eric Lopez, spotted yet another creature not far from the woods. Without hesitation, Marco jumped out of the car, chasing the creature down. Marco immediately jumped out of the car and without hesitation captured the creature with his bare hands. He reportedly took it to the hospital, where it later died. But this would not be Marco's last involvement in the incident. Govt, the editor of Brazilian UFO magazine, stated that after Marco captured the creature, he was smelling it in his body, in his clothes. He had this strange feeling of something greasy or sticky over him that came from the creature. Marco's condition deteriorated rapidly. His family recalls him feeling only mildly unwell when he first entered the hospital around 7 a.m. But by 11:45 a.m., Marco was dead. The infection that killed him seemingly had no explanation. Marco's family fought for an autopsy despite one of the doctors involved in his treatment wanting a burial as soon as possible. They also fought to receive his medical documents, which the hospital delayed, and then provided to them with multiple pages being omitted.
Você pode falar o nome do seu marido, por favor?
Marco Cereze. Depois eles entregaram, só que eles primeiro pediram uma quantia para entregar, demoraram muito tempo, e depois entregaram faltando páginas.
Oh, they took a long time to deliver it, and they asked for money, and they were missing pages.
One of those pages, Marco's sister later claimed, documented an unidentified toxin found in his blood. The hospital's official cause of death was listed as a generalized infection caused by benign bacteria and pneumonia, but the exact origin remained a mystery. Adding to the confusion, the military denied capture of any creature and altered Marco's official records, stating he was not on duty that night.
Temos a esconder.
Caso houvesse...
Saber o que eles estavam fazendo no dia do acontecimento? Trabalhando. Em prol do exército, em prol da nação. Tem como ser comprovado? Para quê? Para a imprensa. Por quê? Porque nós queremos provar os fatos. Não tem que provar. Tudo que eu tinha a dizer.
The other officer that was in the car, Eric Lopes, has since retreated from the public eye, refusing to be seen publicly or provide any statement, and in James Fox's documentary, Moment of Contact, threatened to shoot the documentary makers for coming to his home requesting to speak with him. Despite the military's official stance, Marco's family remains convinced that he was involved in the creature's capture and subsequently sued the military police for answers. The day after the girls' encounter with the creature, Mr. Ubirajara Franco Rodriguez, a ufologist and lawyer who also taught at one of the 4 colleges in Varginha, started investigating these reports. He had 20 years of experience studying UFOs and held a belief that only 1% of sightings were actually true. However, after his investigation, he was convinced, without a doubt, that the girls had seen an alien creature. In fact, he concluded that at least 2 creatures had been encountered that day. Rodriguez wasn't alone in his pursuit of the truth. Over 66 other ufologists soon arrived in Varginha to conduct their own investigations, and their findings pointed directly to the military as the force behind the capture and concealment of the creatures. A report signed by 10 different organizations uncovered a real, complex operation involving military personnel, resulting in the capture of unidentified biological entities. As more reports continued to surface, it became clear that something truly unusual had taken place. New reports came in calling firemen to the scene, and once they arrived, they noticed the army was already there, and a creature had been captured. Witnesses reported that the alien was captured with a net, showing no resistance and allowing itself to be caught. The individuals handling the creature were seen wearing gloves and appeared to be cautious. The creature reportedly had oily skin, a triangular head with 3 rounded horns, and red eyes. Eyewitness reports from this event state this creature was taken to the Regional General Hospital of Varginha and then transferred to the Humanitas Hospital. The ufologists' investigation confirmed that a creature had been captured at the scene, just a few meters away from where the girls would have their encounter a few hours later. Hospital staff recalled a series of strange events that day. Police officers, firemen, and military personnel were seen throughout the hospital, and an entire wing was sealed off for hours, and informed the area was closed for a training exercise for doctors and the military. Official documents from the Brazilian army regarding the alleged Varginha UFO incident offered a very different narrative and provided explanations for each part of the story. According to these documents, the girls never saw an extraterrestrial being at all. Instead, the army suggested that what they had encountered was likely a homeless man named Mudinho, who was known to frequent the area and who was likely dirty from the rain. As for the numerous military vehicles spotted by residents, the army attributed this to routine work. They claimed that the army trucks had simply left the barracks for normal maintenance work. The documents also addressed the death of Marco Cerese, stating that he had passed away due to a strong hospital infection. The military further asserted that former soldier Cerese was not involved in any incident with extraterrestrials. Today, Varginha, much like Roswell, New Mexico, embraces this astonishing event, and the incident has even been immortalized in a video game. Local UFC fighter Amanda Ribas has even shared that her own family witnessed something unexplainable. Her grandmother claims to have seen the creature herself, while her father believes the entire event was fabricated. In honor of their role in UFO history, Varginha erected the memorial Doe E.T., dedicated to extraterrestrial phenomena. This UFO case is often referred to as Brazil's Roswell, and is considered one of the most mind-blowing in history. But what do you think? Was it an extraterrestrial encounter, or could there be another explanation? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe so you'll be notified when my next UFO video, Britain's Roswell, drops.